Hello there, everyone. I'd like to thank Chairman Lucas and Ranking Member Lofgren for convening this hearing and Administrator Nelson for appearing before us today. I'm proud to serve as the ranking member on the committee's Subcommittee on Space and Aeronautics, and I'm the proud son of an aerospace engineer. Now, the work that NASA does is tremendously important for humanity, for implications far beyond what we can scientifically think of today. I often say that without the technology to put the human on the moon, we wouldn't have these in our hands today. Now we're going back to the moon to find where that water ice is, to learn more. I'm excited for this new age of space exploration, as are the folks in my district in northwestern Illinois. Scientists across the country were making these impacts since the 1960s. Now, Artemis 3 will send humans to new and exciting places on the moon, including polar caps, where we will hopefully find that ice. What new research do you anticipate the scientific community will undertake with these samples as we bring them back from the moon in 2025?
Before I answer that, Congressman, I want to say, aren't you a former weatherman?
I am a meteorologist by trade, correct.
It is true that NASA is a climate agency as well as a space and aviation aeronautics agency.
I would not have been able to do my job for 22 years without the investment in science that NASA has provided.
Well, you're the best walking advertisement for what NASA does. Right there. And when you held up your cell phone, in that cell phone is an amazing camera. And that is a camera on a chip. And that was developed by NASA in our Earth observations. So thank you. And I got so excited about saying that, I forgot your question.
What do you expect to get from our
samples
our
from Mars?
Yes.
Okay. So the likelihood, if there was life, was where that lake was. And what better place than the mouth of the river where the river spilled into the lake. And so we are drilling in different places with the rover Perseverance. And by bringing back these titanium-filled tubes of samples of those cores in different locations that the scientists at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory have decided are the likelihood, then we ought to be able to determine, was there life there? Is there still life there? What kind of life was there in just a small sampling of the surface of Mars before we send humans there in about 2040 in order to explore further. And that's the purpose of these samples.
I'm glad you mentioned 2040 because just a couple of weeks ago, it was probably the greatest part about being a congressman so far in my short tenure. I was able to bring Dr. Kate Rubins, NASA astronaut, to a first grader, to first grade elementary school in my district. Having the understanding that it is my job as a congressman to make sure that these kids can grow up and be whomever they want to be when they grow up. And then Dr. Rubins was able to inspire them, understanding that the kids that we were talking to may be about the same age as the first person to stand on Mars. How do we continue to inspire them?
Well, you said it already. You saw what happened to the faces of those kids when astronaut Dr. Rubins walked in to the classroom. They're fascinated with space, as are most people, but especially this next generation, because they've grown up with technologies that we never grew up with when I was growing up. And so this is just normal fare for them. And they have some distant memory that we are out there in space going to the moon, but they almost nightly can see it, that something's happening out in space today. And so this is what the Artemis generation, it was the Apollo generation, and from that became a educational revolution of scientists and engineers and technicians and mathematicians. And you can imagine what is going to come out of the Artemis generation as a result of us going back to the moon and then going to Mars and further.
Everything we do is for them. My time has expired. I yield, but thank you so much. It's an honor.
Gentleman's time